What poverty really looks like at 4,000 meters. A railway crosses permafrost above 5,000 meters, yet mountain transport still raises household costs. The cost appears after delivery in bare kitchens and choices families can no longer afford. Low wages do not rise when the road climbs. Herders, orchard workers, salt workers, and porters depend on seasons, while rice, cooking gas, winter clothes, and medicine demand cash all year. One weak harvest can bring debt. A clinic may be hours away. School fees and the cost of a final family rite can empty what remains. I refuse to turn worn clothes and empty cupboards into peaceful scenery. In this video, we examine how scarcity controls work, health, and family choices across the Tibetan world, and what remains after the rice and gas are paid for. One of Tibetan Buddhism's largest study centers rose in a high valley where food, water, warmth, and health demanded attention every day. Founded near Sirtar in 1980 by Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok, Larungar grew into a settlement of red cabins for monks, nuns, and lay students. Study filled the valley, but altitude still ruled the day. Teaching, memorization, debate, and ritual shared time with meals, water, warmth, and health. The postcard ends at the cabin wall. Every resident still depends on food and fuel reaching a remote settlement, then on daily work to stretch those supplies. From 2016, demolitions, relocations, and tighter enrollment and residency controls changed the population and built landscape. Older images preserve a density that no longer tells the full story. Relocation rearranges teaching, meals, water, warmth, and health all at once. Scarcity is not separate from study. It sets the hours available for it. What stays with me is not the scale of the red cabins, but the cost of sustaining one ordinary day at altitude. Larungar's hardest ledger is concrete, a meal, a container of water, and enough fuel to keep one small cabin warm. One of Tibet's great supply roads loses nearly 1,800 meters in a single chain of switchbacks. From Yela Pass toward the New River Valley, the Nujiang 72 turns force trucks through steep grades and repeated bends whose exact count still varies. This is mega engineering under constant pressure from terrain. Ice cuts grip, fog erases distance, rockfall and landslides close space, and blind corners load every decision onto brakes and steering. Dryers do not carry scenery. They carry food, medicine, mail, students, workers, machinery, tourists, and the buses and ambulances that tie eastern Tibet to cities farther east. Every descent spends fuel, brake lining, tire rubber, time, and concentration. Road crews face the same mountain from outside the cab. Changing elevation, unstable rock, ice, and fog can turn routine maintenance into a contest against weather and gravity. The highway is a major conquest of distance, but access is not affordability. The farther a basic load must travel through these bends, the more transport pressure sits inside its final cost. Each delivery reaches the valley with fuel burned, brake lining thin, and a driver's concentration spent. One narrow circuit carries prayer, groceries, rent, and tourism across the same polished stone. Barkhor runs clockwise around the Jokhang Temple, while limited vehicle access forces workers to move shop stock through crowded lanes by hand. Pilgrims turn prayer wheels and count beads beside monks, office workers, residents, vendors, and organized tour groups. Some lower their bodies to the ground again and again, using aprons, gloves, and hand protectors against the stone. The route is sacred, but it is also a supply corridor. Shops need groceries, footwear, clothing, butter lamps, incense, white scarves, and household goods before a sale can happen. Cash and bargaining remain, while QR codes and online orders pull even small counters into digital commerce. Technology speeds payment, it does not erase rent or delivery labor. Business rises and falls with pilgrimage seasons, holidays, tourism, security restrictions, and changing rents. A weak season narrows the household budget for groceries, clothing, and rent. Keep returning to the manual labor behind the circuit: deliveries, rubbish collection, checkpoints, queues, and crowd control. At Barkhor, devotion and commerce meet one hard limit. Hand protectors press against stone, while every box of stock still comes in by hand. Sacred Lake draws money without putting enough cash in every kitchen. At about 4,400 meters, the villages around Yamdrok Yumpso work with thin pasture, limited hardy crops, and livestock that must carry households through winter. Sheep, goats, cattle, and yaks turn grass into wool, food, fuel, and income. None of it arrives without hands sorting fleece, drying dung, and stacking fodder against the cold season. The turquoise water is sacred, and fishing taboos shape how it is used. Samding Monastery and the Dorje Phagmo tradition give this ground religious weight, but belief does not settle a household account. Motorcycles and solar panels show practical change. Tourism businesses bring seasonal income, while traffic and litter show that outside money also brings pressure to the same working pasture. With crops limited and tourism seasonal, there are few reliable ways to cover food, fuel, medicine, schooling, and family obligations from the same narrow income. Altitude does not make scarcity pure or peaceful. It lengthens the labor behind each basic need, and seasonal earnings do not remove winter's demand. Yamdrok cannot be reduced to sacred blue water. Winter is measured in stacked dung, sorted wool, and bundles of fodder. Sis City can shorten the road to a hospital and still make survival more expensive. At nearly 3,800 meters, Shigatse is the Tibet Autonomous Region's second largest city, drawing Sang villagers toward trade, schools, banking, documents, repairs, and medical care. Farm vehicles arrive with grain, vegetables, wool, and livestock products. They return carrying household purchases whose cost has absorbed transport, storage, and scarce cash. The city opens doors that a remote village cannot, Modern hospitals, Tibetan medicine, government offices, and onward buses. But each door brings another bill. Education carries the same bargain. Tibetan and Mandarin language schooling can widen access to salaried work. Yet rent, food, separation from farm labor, and job competition press against that promise. Around Tashilhunpo Monastery and Shigatsadzong, apartment blocks, construction sites, workshops, fuel stations, and transport yards reveal the city's harder function. It converts distance into opportunity, then charges families for using it. Roads push west toward Nepal, Kumolangma, and western Tibet. They keep goods moving, but families beside them may still be unable to afford the load. The city shortens the journey, then sharpens the choice. A clinic visit, a rented room near school, or provisions for the family at home. Buckets of brine still climb from riverside wells by hand, even though a paved road reaches Yanjing. Beside the upper Mekong in Mangkhang County, Yanjing has kept this method alive for roughly 1,300 years. Brine does not climb from the riverside wells by itself. It is carried upward, then spread across clay-roofed wooden terraces until dry air and sunlight leave salt behind. Women have traditionally supplied much of that force. Load follows load, while damp timber, clay roofs, and aging supports demand constant repair. The valley once fed T-Horse Road Exchange. Today, trucks shorten the journey, but they do not erase fuel, repairs, regulations, or pressure from industrial salt. Modern transport enters the valley, yet hand production competes with industrial salt. Producers also maintain terraces and serve visitors, splitting labor across several demands. Cannot reduce this labor to a picturesque survival from the past. Its real measure is whether a day's salt can cover the goods that the terraces cannot produce. Every white crystal carries the climb from the well. Its harder measure is whether the day's sales cover a meal, a terrace repair, or the next medical trip. Steel reaches Lhasa across the highest railway terrain on Earth. The freight arrives. Affordability does not automatically follow. Since 2006, the Qinghai-Tibet line has crossed permafrost, grassland, and the Tenggila Pass at more than 5,000 meters, using oxygen-enriched passenger cars. The station gathers students, workers, patients, families, tourists, porters, and freight beneath one roof. Their journeys share a platform, but not the same margin for cost or delay. Rail has lowered some transport costs and widened access. Bulk food, fuel, building material, and medicine can now cross terrain that once resisted heavy loads. But the final distance still collects its price. Cargo unloaded in Lhasa may need another road, another vehicle, and more hands before reaching a high village. This is the contradiction I cannot turn into a postcard. Engineering has shortened the route, while low income can still keep essentials beyond reach. Tourism, migration, and construction bring opportunity and competition together. The city gains traffic, but housing and services take more pressure. The line proves that steel can master permafrost and thin air. Beyond the platform, survival still comes down to a sack of rice and a gas cylinder. Capital crossed by expanding roads can still make a sack of rice feel heavy long before anyone lifts it. Lhasa wakes above 3,600 meters, where cold, dry air raises the daily need for warmth, hydration, and reliable medical care. Before tourist traffic builds, street cleaners clear public space and delivery crews unload vegetables, rice, bottled gas, parcels, and construction materials hauled across mountain routes. That labor links the old city to a regional capital of buses, scooters, electric vehicles, hospitals, universities, shopping centers, and mobile payments. Yet modern access does not settle the household ledger. Renters and low-wage workers still divide income among food, heating, housing, childcare, and medicine. Government salary, construction shift, shop counter, pension, or remittance may hold that ledger together. Paying one bill can push another need aside. The contradiction fits in one frame. Whitewashed homes in the Potala Palace share the valley with expanding roads, while basic goods still absorb hard-earned wages. Roads can cross the mountain without defeating scarcity. A household still has to afford the rice sack and gas cylinder at the end of the route. More than 10,000 people once built a life around small wooden huts at roughly 4,000 meters. In Jokhang Temple River Valley in Pelul County, women formed the clear majority of this Buddhist community at its estimated peak. Scale hides the burden carried by each resident. Teaching, recitation, retreat, and private practice had to fit around chores, food preparation, and fuel collection. Fuel is not background, it means heat and a cooked meal. A small hut provides basic shelter, but every outside supply still crosses distance. He cannot treat the valley's density as proof that scarcity was somehow peaceful. It meant thousands of daily needs pressed into a remote strip of ground. Since 2019, extensive intervention has cleared housing and removed or relocated many residents, while others were prevented from returning. The physical map of the community contracted with its population. A relocation is not merely a new address. It disrupts an established route between teaching, shared labor, fuel collection, food preparation, and private practice. Jokhang Tempe's central fact is material. At 4,000 meters, a place of study functions only when someone gathers the fuel, prepares the food, and keeps a small wooden hut usable. Tibet's most sacred temple begins charging the household budget long before any offering reaches an altar. At the 7th century Jokhang Temple, some pilgrims arrive after days or weeks on the plateau, already carrying the cost of transport, food, lodging, and offerings. Others advance through repeated full-body prostrations. The movement consumes strength and wears through aprons, gloves, and wooden hand blocks. Inside, worshippers move clockwise through crowded chapels, Add clarified yak butter to lamps, present white scarves and money, then wait for brief access to revered images. Known of this runs on devotion alone. Butter, wicks, incense, cleaning materials, and protective equipment must arrive continuously. Monks and lay workers control queues, donation points, restricted rooms, and floors made slick by offerings. Open flames inside a historic structure add another constant pressure. The dawn crowd can look separate from ordinary economics, but journey money comes from the same household fund as food, fuel, and medicine. You cannot treat endurance at this altitude as decoration. Faith here has a material bill, paid through travel, lodging, supplies, fatigue, and days on the road. At the door, that bill becomes objects. A butter offering, a frayed apron, and a wooden hand block worn thin. Nyingchi's celebrated peach bloom hides a harder calendar. The same spring color arrives with irrigation repair, pruning, planting, and livestock care. Moisture. Entering through the Yarlung Tsangpo corridor feeds forests, river terraces, fields, and orchards, but unpredictable weather can still upset the season. The flowers draw attention during spring. Farm work continues long after the branches lose their color, and most of it still demands hands, tools, and time. Families grow barley, wheat, rapeseed, vegetables, and fruit across this wet pocket of the plateau. Each crop spreads risk, yet each also adds another task and another exposure to weather. Income, therefore, reaches beyond the field. Guest houses, restaurants, construction, transport, government work, and online sales tie village budgets to towns, roads, visitors, and demand. This mix can strengthen a household, but it is not proof that scarcity has vanished. A weak harvest or a quiet season can squeeze several earnings at once. Blossom photographs leave the harder season outside the frame. Repair work, farm tools, and the arithmetic behind every purchased supply. When the petals fall, the budget is not measured in scenery. It is measured in harvested grain, paid work, and whether the next gas cylinder can be replaced. At about 4,000 meters, Latang's open grasslands can look limitless, while a herding family's choices remain painfully narrow. This is Kham in present-day Sichuan, where generations have relied on yak and sheep across land shaped by altitude, storms, and changing climate. The work is seasonal, but never light. Herds must be moved and counted, animals milked, butter and cheese made, dung gathered for fuel, equipment repaired. Storm can compress those tasks into a shorter, harsher day. A damaged tool or missing animal is not an image of tradition. It is a direct loss of time and income. Grazing policies, fencing, conservation rules, schooling and settlement programs press on the old rhythm of movement. Families must adjust where they camp when they travel and how labor is divided. Motorcycles and trucks shorten distance. Phones and solar panels connect a seasonal camp, but none of them creates pasture, cash, or spare hours. Tents serve summer movement. Winter houses hold families when conditions tighten. Modern equipment sits beside repaired gear because replacement costs still compete with daily needs. Lighting's material truth is a worn boot beside repaired tack, and a stack of dung fuel ready for the next cold shift. Thousands of rooms are cut into cliffs, where trucks and motorcycles now cross the ground of a former Himalayan kingdom. Upper Mustang in northern Nepal belonged to the Kingdom of Lo and remains tied to Tibet through language, religion, architecture, and historic caravan exchange. The cliff caves served at different times as dwellings, stores, retreats, and monastic rooms. Their walls held daily supplies as well as disciplined religious work. Pottery, jewelry, murals, and manuscripts survive inside them, turning bare rock into a record of what people carried, protected, and could not easily replace. That matters in a region shaped by distance. Storage was protection against a delayed load or closed route. Modern roads changed the carrying equation. Trucks move weight differently from caravan exchange, while motorcycles, tourism, controlled permits, and erosion reshape the inhabited landscape. Faster movement can widen supply, but a road does not guarantee low prices, steady income, medicine, or school money. Access and affordability remain separate battles. The cliffs are not evidence of noble isolation. Scarcity means fewer choices when bills arrive together. Road changes delivery speed. Household security still depends on what can be bought and stored before the route closes. The world's highest summit depends on workers whose hardest task may begin long before any climber touches the mountain. Kumolangma rises nearly 8,900 meters on the Tibet-Nepal border. Yet every expedition starts with permits, transport, food, fuel, and hands. From the north, the approach crosses a dry highland toward Rongbuk Monastery and the authorized tourist base camp area. Vehicles shorten the journey, but they cannot restore oxygen or control weather. Tibetan and Sherpa workers transport loads, guide teams, cook meals, and support rescue. Their labor converts outside ambition into movement where thin air slows every body. The summit dominates headlines. Below it, the work comes down to fuel for cooking, food for labor, and equipment ready when weather closes in. Permits control access, and low oxygen narrows the margin for error. Waste rules and cleanup campaigns mean that success also includes carrying material back down. Retreating glaciers keep changing the ground beneath the expedition trade. The mountain is not a fixed stage. Routes, loads, and risks must be judged again. The summit story begins far below it, with workers who load, cook, carry, rescue, and clear what an expedition leaves behind. Fresh water lies beside a saline lake at nearly 4,600 meters, yet abundance here remains difficult to use. South of Kailash, Lake Manasarovar is freshwater. Nearby Lake Rakshastal is saline, a sharp divide across the same high plateau. Manasarovar is sacred to Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, and Bon followers. Its Sanskrit name is often interpreted as Lake of the Mind, but the shore imposes physical facts first. Pilgrims pray, meditate, collect water, or wash at the edge. Cold wind, altitude, and ultraviolet exposure set the limits. Migratory birds depend on this ecosystem. Roads, waste, climate change, and changing water conditions add pressure to a lake already governed by cold and height. Sacred status does not warm a shelter or lower the cost of a meal. Food, cooking fuel, medicine, and dry clothing still have to cover the distance to the shore. That is where the postcard image fails. A bottle filled from Manasarovar may carry meaning, but the person carrying it still needs calories, heat, and transport for the return. Pilgrim may leave with a bottle of sacred water. The return still runs on purchased calories, warmth, and transport. One of Tibet's greatest displays of power rises above a city, where altitude makes every ordinary load harder to move. On Marpo Ri, the present complex began in the mid-17th century and grew into more than 1,000 rooms. 7th century royal residence came first. The White Palace and Red Palace later enclosed chapels, offices, murals, manuscripts, and statues. This was not decoration alone. Until the late 1950s, the Patala served as a winter residence and center of government, placing political authority high above Lhasa. Now controlled as a museum, it also remains a place of worship, a UNESCO site, a political symbol, and a major attraction. The contrast that matters is material. Monumental walls can preserve power, but they cannot make rice, cooking gas, medicine, or schooling cheaper for a household living on low pay. At high altitude, road transport adds to the burden of every ordinary purchase. A sack of grain and a gas cylinder must be hauled upward before either reaches a kitchen. Below the palace, power is measured differently, by which bill a household postpones when one thin income must cover grain, heat, medicine, and school. One of Tibet's most sacred lakes now receives pilgrims, herders, wildlife, ticketed crowds, and commercial traffic on the same exposed shore. At about 4,700 meters north of Lhasa, Nampso sits beneath the Nyenchin Tangla Range, where thin air turns ordinary work into strain. Roads have pushed deep into this altitude. Parking areas, guest houses, vendors, and managed viewpoints now stand beside caves and pilgrimage routes around the Tashi Dor Peninsula. Access looks like progress, but it does not erase distance. Rice sacks and cooking gas cylinders still climb from lower ground, consuming fuel, labor, and time before reaching a household or stall. Visitors who rise too quickly can face severe headache, nausea, and breathlessness. For people who work here, cold and oxygen shortage are not a brief interruption. They shape every shift. Seasonal change tightens the margin. Winter ice, spring thaw, sudden wind, waves, and rough roads can delay trade just when heating and food matter most. Herders need the grasslands, while kiangs and migratory birds depend on the same basin. Tourism enters land already under pressure. For a shoreline vendor, altitude is counted in shorter shifts, delayed deliveries, and the fuel burned bringing stock uphill. Monastery built for spiritual withdrawal still survives through an unbroken chain of physical supply. Taksang stands at about 3,100 meters, fixed to a cliff roughly 900 meters above Bhutan's Paro Valley. Tradition links the tiger's nest to Padmasambhava, said to have reached the cave on a tigress and meditated there. The belief gives the cliff meaning. It does not make the climb carry less weight. Founded in 1692, the complex is approached through forest, stairs, a waterfall, and a bridge. Every repair timber, roof fitting, kitchen provision, and working hand must overcome that same vertical barrier. After the 1998 fire, Taksang was extensively rebuilt and reopened in 2005. That recovery was not scenery. It was years of hauling, fitting, funding, and labor at altitude. Taksang remains an active religious site, not an abandoned monument, and interior photography is restricted. Daily use demands food, fuel, maintenance materials, and working time where access consumes strength. Taksang's sacred importance explains why it is maintained. It does not perform or pay for that maintenance. Beyond the bridge, every meal and repair begins as weight on someone's back. Caravans once set Leh's rhythm. Now aircraft, army traffic, tourists, and expanding neighborhoods crowd the same high desert hub. Leh stands around 3,500 meters above sea level, where the upper Indus Valley concentrates transport, government, schools, and military compounds. Leh grew as a caravan center connecting Kashmir, Tibet, Central Asia, and the Indian plains. The old bazaar and 17th century palace still mark that earlier economy. Today, airport traffic, guest houses, army compounds, and government offices create jobs and pull more construction into the valley. Growth brings services, then pushes harder against housing, waste handling, and water. Outside the dense streets, irrigated villages hold narrow bands of cultivation against barren ground. Every new building and guest room adds demand to the same dry valley. Modern transport makes Leh a hub, but altitude still charges a physical price. Rice, gas, medicine, school materials, and building supplies must all enter a constrained mountain market. Households with limited cash cannot separate these pressures. Housing, food, school costs, medicine, and seasonal debt all compete inside one budget. The road, runway, and market widen supply, not the family budget. When one income must cover housing, food, school, medicine, and debt, access can expand while choice contracts. A canyon widely described as the world's deepest also carries a river from the Tibetan plateau towards South Asia. The Yarlung Tsangpo bends around Namcha Barwa for roughly 500 kilometers, with about 6,000 meters of relief from nearby crest to river. Tectonic uplift raises the land while the river cuts downward. Monsoon moisture feeds forests and waterfalls, but steep ground keeps movement difficult. Villages occupy this immense fold in the mountains, and bridges carry the burden of connection. When access narrows, food, fuel, medicine, and school costs compete more sharply. Downstream, the river becomes the Brahmaputra, binding this remote gorge to South Asia far beyond Tibet. Hydropower proposals raise the stakes far beyond the gorge. Harnessing this drop on a colossal scale brings seismic risk, displacement, ecological loss, and downstream water into the same decision. I cannot read this landscape as grandeur alone. The same relief that promises enormous power can also make a clinic, a classroom, or a resupply point harder to reach. Engineers may measure the gorge in potential power. A family can measure the same terrain by whether the next medicine box makes it across the bridge. SAIS decides what Nubra can grow. Meltwater feeds a green farming valley inside the high-altitude desert. Access runs across Kardung La, nearly 5,400 meters high, while fields below survive on glacier-fed irrigation. Nubra once linked Tibet and Central Asia through trade and Buddhism. That old route has become a hard supply line for modern villages. Barley, wheat, peas, mustard, fruit, poplar, willow, and sea buckthorn grow only where channels reach the soil. Limited water must serve farms, homes, tourism, and expanding demand. The road carries military traffic, farm goods, visitors, cooking fuel, and food. Each load climbs through thin air on terrain that gives transport little margin. Hunter's dunes and domestic Bactrian camels preserve the valley's trading identity, but they also draw tourism onto the same narrow roads and scarce water base. At Diskit, a 32-meter Maitreya statue rises above a valley where households still measure security in food, fuel, and the next season's crop. Scale can impress without easing a household budget. The decisive measure is not the statue's scale, but the irrigation channel. When less water reaches a field, more food must be bought. Vertical city rose from a barren ridge where temples, homes, and basic supplies all had to fight gravity. From around the 10th century, Saparang served as a principal center of Guj, controlling links between western Tibet, Ladakh, Kashmir, and India. In 1630, it came under Ladakhi control. Caves, dwellings, administrative rooms, temples, tunnels, and a citadel occupied one vertical ridge. Distance governed them all. The surviving murals carry multicultural influences, proof that scholarship and art crossed the plateau. Grain, fuel, pigment, and building material had to cross it too, pushed by labor. That is the contradiction I cannot reduce to a postcard. Guj controlled routes across regions, yet distance and erosion never stopped setting limits. After abandonment, erosion, and political upheaval kept stripping the site. Walls weakened, painted rooms stood exposed, and usable shelter receded. For communities in the basin today, the last climb still converts basic needs into freight, time, and worn hands. A road alone cannot make them affordable. Saparang preserves a kingdom's reach, while its stairways preserve the limit. Survival depended on what people could haul uphill. An abandoned city seems to fill the Zanda Basin, yet no mason built its walls. Ancient lakes and rivers laid down thick beds of silt, sand, and gravel. Uplift raised the basin, and runoff cut those beds into towers, ridges, and ravines. Wind, frost, gravity, and rare heavy rain still wear down the soft faces. Repeated freezing and thawing widen gullies and loosen whole slopes. Roads cannot cross this ground in straight lines. They bend around drainage channels and unstable slopes, adding time to food, fuel, and medicine. Villages and cultivated patches hold to the limited flatter ground near dependable water. A field here is not simply land. It is one of the few workable surfaces. Vaticals reveal the scale of the formations, but they also expose the modern paradox. Roads bring access while erosion keeps raising the cost of maintenance, construction, and farming. What stays with me is not the resemblance to a lost fortress. It is the narrow margin between a passable road and a cut-off load of staples. Zanda records immense geological change, but a closed gully makes it immediate. A missed delivery, a longer clinic trip, or a field left without supplies. The summit is forbidden, yet Mount Kailash still demands a 52-kilometer test of the body. The peak rises about 6,600 meters in western Tibet, and the circuit crosses Drolma La at roughly 5,600 meters. Most pilgrims complete the route in about 3 days. Hindus and Tibetan Buddhists generally move clockwise. Followers of Bon take the opposite direction. For some, walking is not enough. They advance through full-body prostrations, lowering themselves to the ground, rising, and repeating the motion across hard terrain. Kailash is sacred to Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, and Bon followers. Climbing is prohibited, and no ascent has been reliably confirmed. That protection preserves the summit, but it does not soften the circuit. Thin air, distance, food, fuel, shelter, and medicine still press on every day of the journey. Scarcity enters through the smallest load. Anything eaten, burned, worn, or used for treatment must reach Western Ngari before it can support a body on the route. At Drolma La, devotion sets the direction, but the crossing still depends on carried food, warm clothing, and shoes ground thin. Fortress designed to command 2 rivers has never been able to command the water. Punakha Dzong rose in the late 1630s, where the Fo-Chu and Mo-Chu meet, joining monastic, governmental, ceremonial, and defensive power inside one enclosure. That position gave the Dzong reach, but also exposed it. Floods, glacial lake outbursts, earthquakes, fires, and repeated restoration have tested the structure. Thick walls do not end the contest. Water presses foundations, ground movement opens joints, and every repair demands timber, stone, transport, money, and skilled hands. Once Bhutan's capital, the Dung remains the winter residence of the Khenpo. Its offices and religious spaces still work each day. It hosted Ugyen Wangchuk's installation in 1907 and the royal wedding in 2011. National history passed through rooms that still require ordinary upkeep. That contrast matters. Ceremony can fill a courtyard for a day. Maintenance consumes labor and materials year after year. The hard arithmetic remains. Monumental architecture can concentrate power, but it cannot create cheap transport or spare working time. At Punakha, the price of endurance finally lands on concrete objects. One replacement beam, one paid workday, one sack of rice left in the family budget. Far west of Tibet, K2 offers a deliberate comparison. Global prestige still depends on manual labor. Rising about 8,600 meters in the Karakoram, it stands between Pakistan-administered Gilgit-Baltistan and China's Xinjiang region. Most expeditions approach through Pakistan, then move along the Baltoro Glacier with Balti porters. Long before the technical climb, every camp must receive food, fuel, tents, and equipment. Altitude makes each load heavier in practical terms. A porter spends strength carrying the supplies that allow someone else to save strength for the summit. Above the glacier, the Abruzzi Spur and the bottleneck compress movement onto severe terrain. Unstable seracs, severe storms, and limited rescue options leave little room for delay. The first confirmed ascent came in 1954. The first winter summit did not arrive until 2021, proof that modern equipment cannot simply overpower the Karakoram. The Porter Line should not be reduced to background scenery. It is the supply chain, moving on boots where engines cannot take the burden. Before the climb turns vertical, ambition moves horizontally for days on a Balti porter's back. The plain lesson is that altitude does not create poverty by itself. Distant markets, buyers setting low prices, scarce clinics, thin wages, and expensive freight close off escape routes. A family can work every daylight hour and still be one failed harvest, medical bill, school fee, or final family right away from deeper debt. Roads and rail lines matter. Affordable medicine, stable prices, reliable heat, and fair pay matter more. I keep returning to one hard measure. Progress is not a palace on a ridge or a highway cut through rock. It is the income left after rice and gas are paid for. Across these highlands, the power of this age will be judged by whether engineering reaches the home, not merely the horizon. Until then, scarcity remains packed into a worn shoe. Continue with this documentary series as it measures grand infrastructure against the medicine, food, heat, and wages that reach ordinary homes. That is where claims of progress face their hardest test.